Alrighty, folks, how are we today? So my name is Andrew Taranto. This is Arcane Investments. Now, today I wanted to go over earnings. So specifically, we're going to talk about Asensus Surgical's earnings. We will do a dive onto ITPs. I'm a little how do I say, crunched to fully grasp ITP. So I want to do some more research on ITP. But Asensus Surgical, I know so much about, so I can do this really quick. Maybe we'll have an ITP review later this weekend. Maybe we could try to do something like that. I think that'd be good. Maybe Sunday. I think Sunday would be good. So let's hop into Asensus Surgical, though, guys. Remember, Asensus Surgical, that's the main of our portfolio. I think it represents quite a bit now, close to probably, or I think we have about 300 or 400 into ITP, and then another 500 into, so it's about like 1,000, so about 1,700, probably about like 60 to 70% of our portfolio is ASXE. It's a decent amount. Now, let's look at these numbers. Let's look at these highlights. Let's sort of go into why did ASXE have such a powerful earnings and what we can look to in the future. Now, obviously, guys, if you want to see my last earnings video, that's on my old channel. Okay, we left that channel. We're on to Arcane Investments. This is the new. This is where I want to be. So we're going to stick here with Arcane Investments, and we're going to, if you do, however, wish to see it, the link is in my YouTube description bio, so you can go to my Abouts at YouTube, and you can check out that old video if you want to see last Q2, or you want to see other expanded. If you want more info on Asensus Surgical, all of that is there. I'll even put a link to it in the description now, just as we're sort of building up this channel specifically towards ASXE and all of the things. I do have an ASXE value investment video where I do go over the stock, but I think this would be a really good, I'm going to try to be as comprehensive as possible. So definitely, get yourself a cup of coffee, maybe just listen to me, however you want to do it. I just want to put this stuff in plain English, right? Because sometimes when you're in the earnings call, Anthony A has a very thick accent. And to be honest with you, it's kind of difficult to put all of these moving pieces into place when you're kind of just sitting there sort of trying to digest everything in that moment. But overall, this is going to be pretty simple for any investor, and I think that's why we did see the growth, is that these are very clear indications of good things for the future. So going forward, we have to also remember, guys, this is a penny stock. This is still a microcap stock. So we are still going to be struggling. Just ignore those. Those are going to pop up every now and then. I can't turn them off. Okay, so let's go into Asensus Surgical here, which is a medical device company that is digitizing the interface between the surgeon and the patient to pioneer a new era of performance-guided surgery, which is, oh my gosh, I really can't describe how incredible that is and how much room there is for that to grow. So the recent highlights are a record quarter for procedures performed using Senhance surgical systems, growing 40% over the prior year. Now, that right off the bat, guys, is a massive it's a massive achievement, and it's something that you might think, oh, okay, well, it's just a procedures performed using the system, right? You got to remember, guys, these are surgeons using it. This is surgeons saying, okay, I want to use this. I can use this. I know how to use it. I know what I'm doing. Oh, wow, this has a great result. Oh, wow, let's use this. Let's use that. Tells another surgeon at another hospital, hey, I'm using the Senhance. Yeah, it's so much better than Da Vinci, and it's cheaper. Oh, I'll get that. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, yeah, I just got a call from the sales guy from Asensus Surgical. I guess I'll go with that. That's what happens when you start using the system and people become more and more aware of what the system is and what it's doing. So that's a really key element of this whole thing, right? That's a key element. So going forward, the growth is massive over the prior year. And even the prior year, by the way, guys, wasn't nothing. They were still, this was actually when I was buying. So I've been in the company for about a year. So this is the first time I started buying the company was about a year ago. So with that being said, this is pretty massive improvement. Even when I thought, hey, listen, they're doing all right stuff. All right, so the next highlight was 4 Senhan surgical programs recently initiated, 3 in Japan and 1 in Russia. 4 Senhan programs recently initiated, 3 in Japan and 1 in Russia. Okay. Now, obviously, that's massive. The one in Russia was an actual sale, so they actually got a ton of money on that. It wasn't just leasing it and then, returning it. That was, I want to lease it and I want it forever, which is, to do that before even using it really does speak volumes to the strength of the actual system itself. So I thought that was really fantastic. We all saw that they received the FDA 510K clearance for expanded capabilities with their ISU. Now, their ISU is having supply chain issues in terms of getting the robot sort of, I guess, to certain places or installed into the system. But that's just a brief headwind, and I don't think there's any company on the face of the earth that isn't dealing with that. So that's not really that big of a deal in my book. Now, we obviously know it has the, we don't know this. Well, I don't know if you know this, but it's including the first of its kind 3D measurement, which is absolutely fantastic. So when you're looking through the cameras, you can measure the things around you very, very simply and very easily, which allows you to make very precise movements, very precise cuts, so that you are that much more certain about what you're doing in the operating room. They received 510 clearance for the 5mm articulating instruments, and there are now 6 Senhance programs initiated year to date. So 4 of which have come just this quarter alone, right? So that's 6 Senhance programs initiated just year to date within just this quarter alone, right? So we had 2 in the previous quarters, and now we had 4. So that's a really big movement, and I think the stock price might start considering that. I don't know if it will, because this is such a weird stock to play, but I will say that, given the Q2 and kind of re-examining the Q2, I think we could see that it was sort of underwhelming, and we can maybe sort of say, okay, that sort of makes sense in hindsight that Q2 didn't perform as well and that quarter was really low for us. But that gave us a lot of good time to buy. And if you were buying through that, that's a really good opportunity. So if we go back down, guys, you already know I'm going to try to buy. I'm going to start selling off other positions in the portfolio just because I really, really do believe in this stock, and I don't want to miss out on that. So I will be willing to take short-term losses for massive long-term gains. Okay, so, all right, receive 5 to 10, okay, for clearance for 50mm. Okay, cool. So this is a quote. We are proud of our recent performances as we continue to make significant progress towards our strategic focus areas despite the meaningful challenges we faced during the quarter as a result. Right, so COVID is certainly a big problem, especially in the health sector. So I'm not going to rib Anthony on that one. I think we all can agree that COVID cannot be easy to deal with when you're trying to convince a hospital to allocate the funds for a new robot. And I think that when COVID does sort of really taper, I think we're going to see tremendous amount of installations, and that's when the stock price really will start taking off. And I think as we start seeing more and more COVID treatments, and we see more, we will see more tapering of these headwinds. So going forward, commercial and clinical updates, the procedure volume trends. So this was obviously the first point that they made, but we'll just reiterate what they said. So during the third quarter of 2021, procedure volumes increased by an over 45% compared to the prior quarter, primarily driven by the growth in Europe and the United States, which is we just got the FDA approval, which means the United States should certainly be much more involved in this. Sequentially, compared to the second quarter of 2021, procedure volumes increased by 5%. So you can see how, wow, right? The fact that we're seeing this this increase quarter to quarter and year over year, so if we look at continual 5% growth per quarter, I don't know if that's possible. We'll see what happens next quarter. But we might, because the more things that are, well, I guess that's not true, but no, it is, because it's volume. It's just pure volume. So the more Senhance programs that are actually initiated and put in, the higher the volume will be. And this is over 1,500 procedures have been completed this year to date, bringing Senhance procedures to over 5,500 globally. And that's just total. So remember, we're still, you look at those numbers, still super, super duper in the beginning stages right now. So let's keep going. The company, now this is something new. The new Senhance program initiation. So the company recently announced 4 new robotic surgery program initiations. So 3 in Japan, which we saw in the news, entered agreements to lease a Senhance surgical system, bringing the total number of Senhance programs in Japan to 7. And the fourth program initiated in Russia, following a hospital's purchase of the Senhance surgical system. Now, this represents the first Senhance system to be utilized in Russia, which was purchased. And I think that's attributed to a pipeline they built with, they have an advisor, I believe, in Germany. And I think he's doing really good stuff. I think we're going to see Russia really kind of being sold very simply on this type of stuff. So very excited about that. Improvements on the ISU, which was definitely expanded global ISU machine capability. So the newest ICU's feature expand on these capabilities and introduce more advanced features, including 3D measurement, digital tagging, image enhancement, and enhanced camera control based on real-time data. Excuse me. So this is so wordy. It's always so wordy. From anatomical structures while performing surgery. This will be the first time any of these features will be clinically available in soft tissue abdominal surgery, which is obviously we really love that word first. Really does give that pioneering sense and really does drill into the surgeons who are using them for the first time and kind of capturing that market immediately, which is really important. Articulating instruments clearance. So in July, the company announced they received another clearance. And then from a financial standpoint, this is the nitty and the gritty. For the 3 months ended in September 30th, 2021, they reported a revenue of $2.6 million as compared to a revenue of only $800,000 in the 3 months ended prior. So is seeing tremendous year-over-year growth, and I think that that was definitely perhaps priced in with the pump, but we're really not sure. Regardless, that's an incredible amount of growth right there. Year over year, and that's going to show, by the way, once 2021 shows up, we're going to start seeing this tremendous growth rate, and I think that's going to be really exciting. Revenue in the third quarter of 2021 included 1.4 million Senhance surgical system revenue, and 0.8 in instrument. Okay, it kind of just brings over the various how they made their revenue. Which, by the way, let's put it this way, guys. Let's put it this way, right? The third quarter revenue included 1.4 million in Senhance system revenue, okay? We had 4 installations, right? This is difficult because one of them was a lease, one of them was an actual purchase. But let's just say, right? Well, technically if you're leasing, you're paying per month. So it's kind of difficult to actually quantify this, so never mind. Because it's not saying new Senhance surgical. They could be getting leased money from all the other ones that they have. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. No, forget about that. I was trying to quantify how much the Senhance surgical system is. I mean, we still probably can, actually. You know what? We actually probably still can. Because we should know the total through this. Increasing the total to 7 in Japan. They might just have 10. Maybe like 10, 15. It's hard to call it. Well, no. Okay, so year-to-date, 6 new have been... For the full year, the company continues to expect 10 to 12. Yeah, it doesn't say. Yeah, so I can't tell you how many Senhance things they have out available, so we can't do the math. But if you can see right there, okay, how much is the Senhance system actually contributing to the revenue? At the very least, we could say it contributes to a good deal of it, almost half of their total revenue. More than half, actually. More than half of their total revenue came from just the Senhance system revenue. So the leases are going to increase the revenue, right? So every single time we get a new system installed, that's got to be red light, guys, right? Or green light bulb right there. Like, hey, that just increased revenue by a lot. That just increased revenue. If it's bought, that's an even bigger one because that means you're going to have a better quarter. The leasing, obviously, you might have that might be a bit more of a ramp, but I think that's all right. I think that's still all right. Depends though. It depends on the company, and it also depends on the leases that are expiring. The leases that are kind of coming out of fruition, and seeing whether or not those are getting bought as well, which is really important. So, for 3 months 31, the net loss of $14.3 million. Which as compared to an adjusted net loss of $11 million 3 months. So obviously the losses are a little bit wider. Okay, so it's a little bit of a bigger loss there. About $2 million increase in spending. Amortization of, does he go into anything, warrant abilities? So that's a little upsetting. Don't get me wrong. There's more shares though, so they diluted that kind of loss number, so the EPS isn't so bad, and they dealt with that pretty well. But yeah, I mean, listen, nobody likes to take these losses, and the net loss is about $14.3 million, and the revenue is only at about 2.6, which gives about we're gonna have some issues there. Oh, I'm sorry, the net income, or so they say that's the net income of $14.3 million loss. So to kind of get you into that number, it's going to take a little bit of time. But if we could imagine if they have $140 million in cash, and they're bleeding, let's say 14 mil every single quarter, and this is if they get no other investments or no other offerings or anything like that, we're looking at 14 divided by, or 140 divided by 14, which let's say goes 10 quarters, 10 quarters, a lot can happen, right? That's 2 to 2.5 years about. So with 2.5 years worth of cash runway to sort of get this going, and let's just say they get to this point where they're hitting these goals of 10 to 12 every single year, then they should have anywhere between 30 Senhance systems, which would be 3 times the amount. Which would put their probably net revenue, if it's let's say 3 times the amount today, then it's 1.4 now. So times 3 would be about, what's that? $4.5 million in Senhance revenue, and then maybe a little bit more on the sides there. So probably around $6 million. Which would be basically a net loss of much less. So it's 14. Well, it's not. It's 14. So it's 14 mil now. So that would be a net loss if the expenses stay the same. That would be a net loss of this is 2, so 4, about 10 million. 9 million, probably around there in the next 2 years. But that's also if things don't ramp up, which they might. So we might be kind of going faster than 10 to 12 a year. That can also happen. And plus, they will at some point are going to need to sort of deal with this capital situation. So there are risks. That's probably the biggest risk right there, is staying solvent, having the money to do this, what they need to do with what they have. But I think that they will figure this out. And that might require a bit of a risk to, whether that be, spending some money to make some money, one or the other. But that's basically it. It says right there, $147.9 million in cash. Luckily, they don't have any debt. They could take out debt if they really needed, just if they feel very bullish, they could take out debt, which would give them a little bit more room to sort of stay alive and keep moving. But I really like the fact that they're sitting on cash and they're using cash to sort of finance most of these issues. So that's what's really important. I know I kind of talked a lot, but these are usually going to be a little bit lengthier. But thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you enjoyed listening. That's kind of basically going to wrap it up, I'd say. Definitely do check out my other video as well, where I do update the gains that were made from the ASX's run-up after earnings. Hopefully those stick, but I have a feeling that we might keep going back down, but if so, that's all right. We definitely have other options to sell and then buy into ASXE. So thank you so much for joining me, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and goodbye.